Well, let's see how we can tackle this one today. How do you trust the divine when you don't trust the divine? When you have all the reasons why you cannot trust the divine. You can come up with all the reasons from the past. I did this and then this happened and I was surrendering myself and then a terrible thing happened. All the reasons why we do not trust the divine. And that is probably, I don't know if I want to say the only, but it's certainly a really big reason that we are not letting the divine come through us because we block it off. We are not receiving it. And it's a big one because everybody lives in that state of fear, of duality, of not trusting, of having the mind just come up with all the reasons why you can't trust the divine. It's like, yeah, remember that one? Yeah. And look at that over there. What kind of a God is that? All this is happening in our own minds. And of course, I can only speak from my own experience. That's what I like to share. So that has been my experience as I see it deeper and deeper, how all these layers that I have been living under as if they were true, and how they have been blocking the divine flow of the divine. When I created a new website, I think 10 years ago, I got branded. It was a big weekend process with rituals and meditations and all kinds of things and journaling. And at the end of it, the group helped with creating the right brand based on what we each individually went through. And what came out for me is the name of my website, and that is Divine Feminine Flow. So divinefeminineflow.com. And it felt really right and beautiful, obviously based on the processes I went through. And then my title or role is a self-love mentor and embodiment whisperer. It was really beautiful, and I just felt I really connected with that. Now, was I living it 100%? No, I was not. And that is often how it goes, right? Like we teach often what we still need to learn. But as you start bringing it out, you will learn if you keep at it. So to step into my own flow based on leaning back and listening to it. Let it show me. Whereas how I lived most of my life trying to push the flow and to direct the flow so it would fit what I thought I needed or wanted, it has been a process of letting go and letting go. Now, a really big part of it is to know what I really, really want. And I have shared this on another video where I had to find my desire statement, I think is what we called it. And that was and is still for me. I am deeply relaxed in the effortless flow and fulfillment of God's loving grace. That is the deepest desire that I have had for over 10 years. It's still here. I'm not saying there isn't anything deeper because I'm sure there is, but this has been my guiding rod. This has been what I have been coming back to and coming back to. So that means that if I catch myself taking off on a fear trip and not trusting that flow, the moment I catch myself, I ask myself, Pernilla, is that what you want? And of course, the answer is always a very clear no. So then I go back to, well, what do you want? And it is always to, flow in that effortless movement of the divine that is already inside of me. So every time I go with the fear, the limitations, the reason why I can't trust it, it's this machinery in here that just keeps spinning out all these reasons and the memories and the things that are showing up on the outside, the seeming outside in the mind. And then I can either go with that or not. But the biggest changes that I have noticed in my life always is when I've had enough. It's like, that's it. I will not do that anymore. And it comes from a very deep place of resolve. It's like, I'm done. It's an energy, it's felt in the body, and it's like, I'm just done. Now, that doesn't mean I may not fall in again, but the more I go back here and I'm done with that, I want this. I keep letting the flow dissolve these beliefs, these limited beliefs that we all live in and under. It's like this horrible regime of the mind that is so unkind and unloving and limited and harsh and judgmental and threatening and blaming. This is not who we are, who I am for one, and it is certainly not what I want to keep feeding my precious energy to. So it's that saying, no, I will not do that anymore. That does not happen overnight with all the areas that I have been leaving myself and believing the fearful thoughts instead. It usually comes maybe one at a time or maybe two, where it's just right in my face. And since I've been doing the work of choosing and being present with and allowing, so that the grip is not on them, it's more like here. And then I have a choice. I do not have a choice when I'm in there battling. I have a choice when I let go, and then the view's wider. And from there, I have a choice. And that's where I say, do you want that, Pernilla? No. Do you want this, or what do you want? I want to be in the flow. So it's a moment to moment choice that I make, and it gets easier. It was very hard in the beginning. I would forget and I would get lost in there again. It's like, oh no, I don't want that. So coming back. So in that, the only way I have been able to learn to trust is by literally diving into the flow and being willing to see what will happen. And I also use these statements that help me go there and stay there. I shared a video on that, where it gives me a reminder of something that feels true in me, something that helps this part that is impacted by these outer suggestions. This statement helps me relax and drop back in and deeper in. And it is just so amazing that the more I do that and the more I can hang out here, no matter what actually happens out in the world. I'm not all the way there yet, but I don't have to be out all the way there yet. I'm getting there. I'm on my way. And we all are, if we take up practice that lets go of horrible these horrible suggestions that are not true. Joe Goldsmith, that I've mentioned before, who was the instigator of my awakening back in Denmark, he would call these hypnotic suggestions. They're hypnotic suggestions. They are suggestions and they're not true. And that's why it's okay to say no to them. It's just a suggestion. It's not the truth. So when you start seeing that, and this has been with me for many years, it didn't happen overnight, but it's becoming so more real to me. And then the more I'm in that, then I start seeing the results of it. And not always right away, but that doesn't stop me anymore. It used to. It's like, yeah, see, I was right. It just doesn't go anywhere. Just terrible things still happen or whatever. But I don't do that anymore. And that's been a big one also, to unhook from that. So how do we trust the divine when we don't trust the divine? It's kind of a choice, you know? It's like a choice to be done with that hypnotic suggestion that keeps telling you, no, you can't trust it. And just take a plunge or dip in your toe and start feeling into it, you know, with statements that help you relax into it. It's like, yeah, let me just see what is the flow? You know, what is that flow? What does it feel like? If I can just trust that it takes care of its own expression as me, without the one on the sideline telling me that I can't trust this. It's really a battle between, you know, you can't trust it, and when you dive in, it's a whole different experience. It's so different and it's so beautiful. And I have to dip into that regularly every day, many times a day. If I don't do it consciously as a practice, the wiring is so strong still from a whole lifetime and the whole world's wiring and programming. It's not just my own, it's everybody. It's like we're this one big brain on planet Earth, all these neural pathways that have been wired to not trust and to live in fear and separation and survival and struggle. And that is where you have a choice. You have a choice. Not everybody right away. Many of us need to do a lot of that unhooking first. Self-love, as I talk about a lot, it's very important so that you have enough consciousness available so you can make a choice. And over and over and over again. And deeper and deeper and deeper again. You know, one of the statements that I'm telling myself these days, because I have been wired to almost not believe it, even, well, not even when it's happening, but shortly after, the mind has a tendency to just kind of turn away. So one thing that really helps me to deal with that little guy, that little sucker who wants to pull me back out, is to say, Pernilla, it is happening. It is happening. The flow is happening. And even just saying it here, it's like, oh, yes, yes, it is. Yes, it is. And then it becomes very obvious because I feel the flow. I feel the impact of the flow. And it's wonderful. It's delicious. It's relaxing. It's warming and it's expanding. It's like, oh, so I just need to remind myself that I actually already am in the flow. And as soon as I do that, I drop in deeper. Yeah. Find your own little statements that help you, that help remind you of what is true, that you maybe hope for or already know or have seen in the past or maybe currently. And make that a daily practice. When it feels good. If it doesn't feel good, it's not the one. When you find the right one, it gives this wonderful feeling. And then tomorrow it may be a different one. But find whatever little gems you need to just keep melting in deeper. And that has been my way of learning to trust the divine. Specifically the parts that are not trusting. That helps those parts, those hypnotic suggestions. It helps them melt a little bit. Melt. It's like that ice cube. It melts back into the water. And then it just flows. Then it just flows. Then you're in the divine flow. And then you can be curious and open. It's like an open prayer, which I use all the time. It's like, okay, show me, because I have no clue. Pernilla out here, she has no clue what that's like. Even if it happens, she'll still go back out and go, did that really happen? That was probably a coincidence or something. She needs to know that. So I just like, okay, show me in ways where I can't really doubt it, even though I try to doubt it. Show me again. I really want to live in and as this divine flow, divine feminine flow, divine masculine flow. It doesn't matter. It's just flavors of it, right? What is your flavor? And what do you want more than anything? That's your guide.